Well, I like to say it's very context dependent, and your cells will use what you eat.
And I want to ask you about the general idea of fuel preferences when it comes to our cells. So our cells can use glucose or they can use fatty acids to create cellular energy in the form of ATP. I want to talk about those things under different dietary conditions like ketogenic versus non-ketogenic diets, different behavioral conditions like exercise versus other things. Sort of at baseline, if we're just like walking around as normal people, not necessarily on a ketogenic diet, not doing anything extreme in terms of exercise or anything out of the ordinary, to what extent do our different cells have a preference for glucose versus fatty acids, or are they always kind of using a mixture of the two?
Well, I like to say it's very context dependent, and your cells will use what you eat. So if you are on a carbohydrate-free diet, that would probably be high in fat or protein. You're going to use preferentially more fatty acids. But in that context, too, we have the ability to make glucose. So you will always be burning glucose for energy. But under normal standard American diet, brain energy metabolism is essentially 99% glucose. And interestingly, if we're going to go organ by organ, which we won't now, but the heart will actually burn preferentially fatty acids. So fatty acid oxidation. And actually, glucose is a relatively small constituent of the heart. But the brain is largely glucose, and skeletal muscle loves to burn fat, and it can do that quite efficiently, but it is it's relatively nonspecific and will derive energy from a broad array of fuel sources, including ketones and lactate.
I see. So right out of the gate, it depends a lot on the organ. The brain is going to have a strong preference for glucose. The heart is going to lean more towards fatty acids. And so different tissue and organ systems are going to have different levels of use for glucose and carbohydrates versus ketones and fatty acids.
And we're all a unique metabolic entity, and it's also very state dependent. That's largely silenced with the advent of agriculture and the standard American diet. Basically, we're burning carbs day in and day out, and our brain is pretty much running on glucose. And our fuel systems are very glucose dominant in our current feeding environment. Yeah. And there's some potential problems with that.